Her stomach ached with a deep, gnawing hunger, the kind that makes the world feel a little blurry at the edges. In her hands, she held a small, slightly squashed sandwich. It wasn't much, 2 pieces of yesterday's bread, a single thin slice of cheese, and a smear of margarine. But to 10-year-old Amara, it was everything. It was her lunch and her dinner, the only thing she was likely to eat until school the next day. She just sat down on a cracked concrete bench in a small, forgotten park. She was about to take that first, glorious bite, the one she'd been dreaming about all day. But just as she lifted the sandwich to her mouth, she heard a sound that cut right through the city noise, the unmistakable, heartbreaking sound of a little girl crying. We're often told that kindness is its own reward. That you should do the right thing, especially when nobody's watching. But what if one of those hidden moments, a single act of selfless generosity, wasn't so hidden after all? What if a choice, made in the quiet desperation of hunger, was seen by the one person who could change everything? This is the story of a young girl who had nothing but gave everything. It's a story about a simple meal, a lost child, and a thundering arrival that would prove to the world that sometimes, the kindness you put out doesn't just come back, it comes back in ways you could never possibly imagine. Amara lived in a part of the city people usually drove through with their windows up and their doors locked. Her home was a small, 3rd-floor apartment that she shared with her mother, a woman who worked 2 jobs cleaning offices downtown. Her mom would leave before Amara woke up and get back long after she was asleep. But you could feel her mother's love in the little things, in notes left on the kitchen counter, in the neatly folded clothes on Amara's bed, and in the fierce, exhausted hugs on the rare evenings they were awake at the same time. But love couldn't pay the bills, and it couldn't fill the pantry. Amara knew the weight of every dollar. She saw the careful calculations her mom made at the grocery store, the way she'd put back a carton of orange juice because milk was more important. So Amara learned early on not to ask for things. Not for new shoes when her toes pushed against the front of her old ones, and not for the colorful notebooks she saw other kids carrying. Her wants felt like burdens, and she loved her mother too much to add another one. This day had been harder than most. An unexpected car repair ate up the grocery money for the week, leaving the cupboards bare except for some rice and tea bags. The sandwich Amara clutched in her hands was a gift of chance. The school cafeteria had made a few extra, and the lunch lady, who had a soft spot for Amara, slipped one into her backpack. Growing girls need to eat, she'd whispered. All through the long walk home, the sandwich was a secret promise of relief. She decided to go to the little park a few blocks from her apartment to savor it. It wasn't much of a park, just a patch of stubborn grass and a lone concrete bench, but it was a place where she could feel the sun on her face and pretend, just for a moment. The hunger was a sharp cramp in her stomach. She could already taste the sandwich, the simple comfort of the bread and the salty cheese. In a life defined by what she didn't have, this small, simple thing felt like a treasure. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and got ready to finally eat. And that's when she heard it. A small, hiccuping sob coming from behind the large oak tree at the edge of the park. Amara's eyes snapped open. The world, and her choice, came rushing in. #### Section 2, the test. Amara froze. Every instinct screamed at her to just ignore the sound. Eat the sandwich, a voice in her head pleaded. Asterisk, it's yours. You need it. Someone else will help, asterisk, but then another sound followed the sob. A tiny, wavering voice calling out, Mommy. That one word unlocked something in Amara's heart. She remembered getting separated from her mother in a crowded market when she was 5. She remembered the sheer terror of feeling like a tiny, lost boat in an ocean of strangers. The memory was so real it momentarily erased her own hunger. With a heavy sigh, Amara carefully rewrapped the sandwich and stood up. Peeking around the tree, she saw a little girl, no older than 5 or 6, huddled at the base. She was wearing a perfect pink dress, now smudged with dirt, and delicate white shoes. Her blonde hair was coming loose from its ponytail, sticking to her tear-streaked face. She looked like she belonged to a completely different world. "Are you okay?" Amara asked softly. The little girl looked up, her blue eyes wide with fear. She shook her head, a fresh wave of sobs shaking her small body. "I can't find my mommy," she wailed. "We were playing hide and seek, and when I came out, she was gone." Amara's heart ached for her. She sat on the grass beside the girl, her own meal forgotten. "What's your name?" "Lily," she whispered. "I'm Amara," she replied. "Don't worry, Lily. We'll find her. She's probably looking for you right now." Lily just cried harder. "But I'm hungry," she hiccuped. Amara's stomach gave a painful, protesting clench. The sandwich sat on the bench just a few feet away. She could give Lily a piece. Half, maybe. That would be fair. But then she looked at Lily's small, trembling body. This little girl had probably never known real hunger in her life. For Amara, it was a familiar feeling. She knew how to endure it. For this little girl, it was terrifying. The internal battle was fierce but short. She remembered her mother's voice in her head, a phrase she repeated often, "Amara, we may not have much, but we have our kindness. That's something no one can ever take from us." #### Section 3. The sacrifice ***, you're not going to give that girl your whole sandwich, are you? The sharp voice came from the other end of the bench. It was Mrs. Gable, a woman from her building known for her sour expression and unsolicited commentary. "She's hungry," Amara said simply. Mrs. Gable laughed, a short, humorless sound. "So are you, child. I see you. I see your mother working herself to the bone. That little girl in the fancy dress. Her mommy is probably 5 minutes away in a new SUV, furious her baby got a speck of dirt on her clothes. They don't need your help. You need to look out for yourself, because nobody else is going to." Her words were like small, sharp stones, hitting on truths Amara already knew. For a second, she faltered. Maybe Mrs. Gable was right. She looked from Mrs. Gable's sneering face to Lily's tearful one. She thought of her mother, who would come home exhausted but still check her homework. She thought of the lunch lady, who gave her the sandwich out of pure kindness. A quiet strength settled over her. She knew what she had to do. She walked back to the bench and picked up the wrapped sandwich. Mrs. Gable watched her, a smug, "I told you so" look on her face. But Amara didn't sit down. Instead, she walked back to the oak tree and knelt in front of Lily. "Here," she said, holding out the sandwich. "You eat this. It'll make you feel better." Lily looked from the sandwich to Amara's face. "But, is it yours?" "It's okay," Amara said, her voice gentle. "I'm not that hungry." It was the biggest lie she had ever told. The aroma of the bread and cheese wafted up, and her stomach screamed. But seeing the flicker of relief in Lily's eyes was a different kind of nourishment. It didn't fill her stomach, but it filled a space in her heart she hadn't known was empty. Lily took the sandwich with trembling fingers and took a small, hesitant bite. A little bit of color returned to her cheeks. "Thank you," she mumbled. Amara just smiled. Her own hunger was forgotten as she helped Lily, breaking the sandwich into smaller pieces for her. Mrs. Gable watched for a moment, shook her head in disbelief, and walked away, muttering to her dog. Amara didn't care. She sat with Lily in the fading afternoon light, the empty napkin lying on the grass between them. Her stomach was empty, but her spirit felt full. She had done the right thing. She had no idea that her small, quiet sacrifice was about to change everything. #### Section 4, The miracle. As the sun began to set, Amara knew she should be getting home. But she couldn't leave Lily alone. "My mommy has a bracelet with a star on it," Lily said suddenly. "She said if I ever get lost, I should stay in one place and she will always find me." "That's good advice," Amara said, squeezing her hand. We'll just wait here for her." Just as she said it, a low, rhythmic whump 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 started in the distance. It grew steadily louder until it felt like it was vibrating in her chest. They both looked up. A shadow fell over the park as a huge, sleek, black helicopter descended from the sky like something out of a movie. It hovered for a moment, kicking up dust and leaves, before landing with incredible precision in the middle of the grassy field. Amara stared, her mouth open. Helicopters didn't land in their park. Nothing this shiny, this expensive, ever came to their neighborhood. The moment the skids touched down, a door slid open and a man in a dark suit jumped out. He looked sharp and focused, his eyes scanning the park with a desperate urgency. "Lily," he shouted, his voice filled with relief. "Daddy!" Lily screamed, letting go of Amara's hand and sprinting across the grass. The man swept her up into a massive hug. After a moment, he set her down and knelt to look her in the eye. "Are you okay?" I looked away for 1 second. "A girl gave me her sandwich, Daddy," Lily said, pointing straight at Amara, who was still standing by the tree. "I was scared and hungry, and she was nice to me." The man's gaze landed on Amara. He stood up and, holding Lily's hand, walked slowly towards her. "He was even more imposing up close to your Amara?" he asked, his voice deep and steady. Amara just nodded. "My name is Julian Davenport," he said. "My daughter told me you were kind to her. She also told me you gave her your dinner." His eyes, which had been panicked moments before, now held a different emotion, curiosity. He seemed to be seeing more than just a girl in a worn-out dress. She was hungry," Amara stammered. "Mr. Davenport's expression softened. "My daughter has a tracker in her bracelet," he explained, pointing to the star-shaped charm. "The moment she left the play area, I got an alert. But it also has a small camera and microphone. I saw you, Amara. I saw you walk away from your own meal. I heard what that woman told you. And then I saw you kneel down and give my daughter the only food you had." Amara's eyes widened. He had seen everything. He pulled out a sleek phone, not a wallet. After typing for a moment, he looked back at her. "I have a question for you, Amara. What do you want to be when you grow up?" The question caught her completely off guard. "An astrophysicist," she whispered, the word feeling audacious on her tongue. A slow, genuine smile spread across Mr. Davenport's face. "An astrophysicist," he repeated. "I have no doubt you will be. Because you have something that can't be taught at any university. You have character." He looked around the crumbling park and then back at Amara. "My helicopter is waiting," he said. "I'd like to give you and your mother a ride home." He paused, and his next words hung in the air, filled with unbelievable promise. "And then, I'd like to talk to you both about a new home. And a scholarship. And a future where you never have to worry about the price of a sandwich again." Section 5, the resolution and moral. The helicopter flight was a blur. The city Amara knew transformed into a sparkling tapestry of lights below. Mr. Davenport had made a call, and by the time they landed, her mother was already there, her face a mask of confusion, having been picked up from work by a polite driver in a black car. Explaining to her mom that her daughter had just stepped out of a billionaire's helicopter felt like a dream. They didn't go back to their cramped apartment. Instead, they all went to a brightly lit diner. Over plates of food so plentiful Amara could hardly believe it, Mr. Davenport explained everything. He spoke to Amara's mother with deep, genuine respect. "Ma'am," he said, "you have raised an extraordinary daughter. Her compassion saved my little girl from a terrifying experience. But more than that, her integrity was a lesson for me. A reminder of what truly matters." He told them about the Amara Davenport Scholarship Fund he was establishing that very night. Amara would be its first recipient, her entire education funded through her PhD in astrophysics. He explained the trust fund he was setting up for her and the new job he was offering her mother, managing community outreach for his company's foundation, with a salary that made her gasp and a schedule that meant she'd be home every night. And then, there was the house. He showed them pictures on his phone of a beautiful home in a safe, quiet suburb with a big backyard. "It's yours," he said simply. Amara's mother began to cry, silent tears of disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. All her years of struggle, of working until her bones ached, it had all led to this moment of impossible grace, brought about by the goodness in her own child's heart. Weeks later, sitting in her new bedroom and looking out at her own backyard, Amara felt like the constant hum of anxiety that had been the soundtrack to her life was finally gone. In its place was a quiet, steady feeling of hope. The most valuable thing she'd gained wasn't a house or new clothes. It was the certainty that her mother had been right all along. Kindness wasn't a weakness. It was a superpower. Conclusion. The story of Amara and Lily is more than just a fairy tale, it's a powerful parable for our times. It reminds us that our choices, especially the quiet ones when we think no one is looking, are the true measure of who we are. Amara didn't help a lost girl expecting a reward. She did it because it was the right thing to do. Her empathy outweighed her own suffering. And the universe, in the form of a grateful father, responded not just by filling her empty stomach, but by filling her future with limitless possibility. So the next time you have a chance to be kind, especially when it costs you something, remember Amara. Every act of generosity sends a ripple of light into the world. You may not get a helicopter landing in your yard, but you will be building a character of immense value. Because true wealth isn't what you have in the bank, but the kindness you have in your heart.